Hey, and it's quite some time. Yes, I apologize for some time. I think last week, just was last week. Yeah, we missed last week. Yes, so I now want to share it and just let a few of my friends and peeps know that I am in the room now, so they may be able to join us. And if you don't mind, would you be kind to do that? Because today I really want to give us a hack that is so useful. I've met people say to me, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. Yes, and this is what I want to unravel. And I want us to discuss. I want us to discuss today. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Ronke. Oh, thank you, Ronke. Thank you, Akogun. Thank you, Deflick, Mifi, Bebo. Thank you for joining. Yes, and I wave back to you all. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. 30 minutes with Hannah. Yes. And I know others are joining, and if you don't mind, would you be kind to also share, put on your timeline. Come on now, let's discuss this. And today, I really want to discuss and share with us, how you actually make connections, that are beneficial, that become so beneficial to your business, and how you open opportunities up by reason of connection and contacting. Now, I want to separate this from, before now we've been discussing networking, and I'm discussing the bit of opening, connection in terms of when you meet people, conversations that make you stick in the minds of people, and that then, draw them to you so you can readily become their network. And you remember, your network is your net worth. If you're listening to me, you are either in career, that is, you're an employee, or you're an employer, in which case you're in business, you want to have more business, you want to do more business, generate more income, or even if you're an NGO, whatever you do, you always want more in terms of more opportunities, more businesses, more connections, more contacts, especially profitable ones. Or you want a new job. Maybe you're here, you've just graduated, you're looking for a job, and you realize every interview you go, somehow you just don't make it. They just don't call you back. And you know your onions. But why are you not getting in the room to make a difference? So I want to discuss what seems very simple, but is so important. Maybe you are not even an employer, you are a pastor, you are an imam. Maybe you are a landlord. Whoever you are, they need to learn how to strike conversations, to open conversations is very important. And it makes a difference between those who go so far in business, in career, and those who don't go too far. Yes. So, diving in so that others will join us as we go on is, when we talk about business connections or we talk about connections, what are we talking about? Connection is chemistry. Connection is chemistry. What is chemistry? Chemistry is, sometimes you can't even define and say this and this is what makes people connect or engage. No. First and foremost is everything you do or you don't do. What you say or what you don't say. Your appearance, the aura, there is something around you even before you start speaking. Something goes ahead of you, There is an energy. There's an energy zone around you. Thank you for joining, Oluwaduro. Yeah. There's an energy around each individual has that energy, which is sometimes positive or negative or neutral. So you find that you meet some people and you just start engaging and you're like, hey, we just met and we spoke like we had known for 1 year. You meet some other people for the 4th time or 10th time and it's looking like you're just meeting them for the first time. There's no connection. There's no engagement. There's no integration. It looks like your fields, your magnetic fields is not connecting. And there are some, you meet them and it's like, wow, it looks like ladies and gentlemen, even though some of it is natural, but most times you can work on it. You can be that individual that make remarkable impact on people. They meet you for the first time and they never forget you. How about that? So by the time you're calling again, and they're like, oh, I met you before, yeah. And they remember the instance because you did what? You made a great impact on them. Something about you was striking. Okay? Now, there are different ways people achieve this, or you can achieve this. Some people go very physical, as in their looks. You know? There are some looks you will never forget. This is what most people focus on, the look, leg, which is the physical. Because there's physical, there's emotional, and there's the combo. These are all my terminologies anyway. Physical is where you are like, you know what? People must notice me. Okay, so for them to notice me, what do? This is going to be my appearance. And you appear in a way that everybody sees and they notice. Sometimes that can be overboard. And sometimes that appearance may actually be a put-off to certain people. All right? So if you are driven by appearance in terms of using appearance, your physical composition to make a difference and to strike that, connection, you have to be very sensitive. You have to be careful. You need to be able to define your segment and define who are the people you want to respond to that action of yours. If it's the elderly, there's a way you have to package. If it's the youth, there's another way you have to. So that is, you have to be careful. So that is it on the physical, if you are using your physical. Okay? Some people, it's just their hairstyle. It's just the way they speak, the way they talk, their language, Some people, is the way they dress. There's a particular way they dress and people know them and that becomes their style. And it's engaging. Remember what I'm discussing today is connection. It's not just that, it's connecting with people and they remember you for it, for positive. Okay? So for some other is emotional engagement. These are people that whenever they meet you, they leave you with something beyond physical. Their interaction with you makes you feel like you're bigger than you are. Makes you feel like you're stronger than you are. Makes you feel like you're more buoyant or you're more rich. You're richer than you are. They leave you feeling very good with yourself. This one is stronger than the physical. Because everybody wants to feel good with themselves. And if you are the person that makes me feel very good, I never forget. If you are the one that will judge me, I will not forget, but that's in the negative. Okay? So, you want to be that individual that people remember and it's for positive. Okay. Now, let's also say this, that the people you meet in your life, where you want to strike this connection, you will meet them in different parts of your life. And your life composes different elements, isn't it? You are in different environments. There is the official environment. You met in the office, or you met in a business function, a luncheon, a business school, a formal community, or it can be social. You are meeting this person in party. You are meeting them at a social function. You're meeting in the games room. You're meeting in the sport arena and all. So we still call all of those social. Or you're meeting in the spiritual environment. You're meeting in the mosque. You're meeting in the church. Or it can be just general. Your neighborhood, you're working. Question: how do you strike people? How do you open conversation with people in a manner that they never really forget you? Okay. So for you to do that, there are a few things that guide you. Question: are these individuals people you know or you don't know them? I hope you know. There are people you long to meet and you are praying to say, the day I meet this person, I'll be so happy. The day I meet this person, there are people you read on the pages of newspaper, you listen to them, you watch them, you're like, if I meet, I want to have physical meeting with this person. Question: The day you meet with that person, what are you going to do? What's going to make that person remember you? Remember, this person has 1,000,001 over people who are like kind of desiring to meet with him or her. What do you then do to remain remarkable? That's the question. That's what gets your connection. If you get that right, then you become, even though you meet the person for the first time, they really never forget you. There's something about you, striking, enduring, that is lasting. That's where you want to be. One of those jokers is how you introduce yourself. Come on now. Self-introduction. Self-introduction. How do you introduce yourself? Many people don't know how to introduce themselves. You'll be shocked. And you may be listening to this and watching this and you're like, it's true. You get so confused. When they say introduce yourself, you just say, I'm Hannah Oyebanjo. And that's it. Or you're wondering to say, what will I even tell them? How should I introduce myself? There's a way to introduce yourself to start with that is striking and that is really remarkable. Okay? First, remember we've discussed your appearance has to be relevant and suitable to that occasion. Very important. Number 2, there's something called the command of whatever language you speak. Many of us didn't study English. Those who studied or who read English in school, they got very strong command of English language. But every language has its command, right? And that's not to say you have to fake it. Even Yoruba, your vernacular has its command in its own way. But it's much more than what you speak. It's how you project, how you put the words out. How serious or unserious, how real, how true to self you are, how fake. Yeah? Which is why you see some people in a bid to engage and connect, they start speaking phonetics that they don't know how to speak. They start biting their tongues. They start going all over the place and like, hey, you are not, if you are not American, you are not American. If you are not, whatever you are, just learn to be yourself. Your authentic self is stronger than you faking anything. So let's get that right, okay? All right. So you're introducing yourself. First, it has to be clear in your mind. How do you introduce yourself? In introducing yourself, there are 3 big legs. If you get those legs fine, that's fine. And you don't have to use the 3 legs every time. The 3rd leg can change depending on what situation you are in. Are you still following me? Hello, am I rushing you? I'm not rushing you. You're following me. Thank you. Right. So, when you meet anyone, you're introducing yourself. Your name is the first thing that goes. Who are you? That's your identity. What people call you or what you want to be called by or known by. Is it your alias? If, for example, you're in a social setting. I am so and so and so. What do you do? What do you do? I am the MD of so and so, or I work with so and so. All right? Thank you. Yes. I work for so and so. I work in so and so. I'm the MD of so and so. Are you with me? Your title. And then go a bit further now. And then actually say how you can be of help or what kind of services you provide. Everything must be less than 2 minutes. And situate what you do to the environment. For example, if you meet somebody in the official setting, that's not when to begin to say, look, you are an imam and you are a pastor, you are an apostle, you are a bishop. It's an official setting. Keep it to your office. I'm so and so. I'm a manager at so and so, and I do what? What do you do? Because you are a manager in that company, you are an MD in that company, you are a GM in that company, you are a rep in that company, you are just an executive in that company, but there's something you do. I help people settle. I help people package themselves. I help people administer their lives. I help people plan themselves. I help people put it in a manner that whenever that person needs that kind of service, your name comes. All right? I help people grow their businesses. I help people ensure they make the right profit. Break it down depending on who you're speaking to. All right? So remember, I'm discussing with you today how you make connections. You strike your opening. Because your opening can make or mar the conversation. Something happened recently. I was trying to interview. I was interviewing for a role. I was trying to get somebody, a business director. And we had 2 resumes. It was a virtual interview chat. The guy came online. As he said, hi, hello, hello. The next thing he said was, congratulations. I'm like, congratulations? And I said, for what? Oh, he stuttered. And then he said, for the elections. And I'm like, how? The elections? Because I was still wondering, why are you congratulating me for what? Oh, and he said, for the new president. This was just last week. The president assumed office since when? What does president have to do with the business director's role? So, can you guess what happened in that instance? What do you think went wrong? Think about it. Good. Many things had gone wrong. But the biggest of it, which is a mistake you shouldn't make, is he did not prepare for the opening. O-P-E-N-I-N-G. Opening. Every conversation starts with what we call opening. And those who are salespeople will understand that like 110 times. That is when you meet somebody for the first time. How you introduce yourself. The impact you leave with that person will determine whether or not. So, of course, in that interview, he already was a put-off to say, sorry, no way. But again, even though I still gave him the audience to see, let's hear him more, but of course, he wasn't fit for the role. But let's even assume it was a slip of tongue, and that can happen. But don't let that happen to you. At any point in time, be ready to engage, to make that first connection, okay? But let's even assume that happened. What should he have done? He should have quickly made up. So when you make a mistake, admit it and say, wow. Immediately he said, congratulations. And I said, for what? Oh, instead of him to, by the time he stuttered, I already knew he was an error. He made an error, a mistake. He didn't think of this. He should have just come out and say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. You know, I've been in an interview before, another interview, and I'll tell you about this. I was interviewing for a company, because I recruit for organizations, senior levels, middle, senior levels. And this lady, I didn't know that she's been following me. You know how you follow somebody from afar. So immediately my manager, who we were interviewing together, it was also virtual during COVID period. Immediately that one said, yes, let me introduce you to Hannah Oyebanjo is here. And I came online and he saw me. She just said, who? And I'm wondering what's happening. He said, Hannah Oyebanjo. She just said, I'm sorry, ma. I'm sorry. I'm like, yes, sorry about what's happening here. He said, look, I'm sorry. I just cannot contain myself. You are Hannah Oyebanjo. I've followed you all my life as a young marketing person, brand person. I'm like, whoa. That's interesting. And it's like, I'm so sorry. Say, I'm so sorry, though this is supposed to be a formal interview, but I'm sorry. I just couldn't stop my shock, my excitement and meeting you and all. And we laughed over it. That's being yourself. Very important. Of course, she got the job. Not because she did well in my own chat, and then we sent her to the company that was recruiting, and they recruited her. She got the job. Right? I'm just saying, when people are authentic, is the best. And you should be authentic. Okay? All right? So, very important to know how to introduce yourself. And when and after you've introduced yourself, always learn to meet with the other person. Meet the other person. And say, sorry, may I meet you, please? You mind if I meet you? So let me play a scenario. Let's assume this is a formal meeting. For example, something happened once. I was in Lagos Business School for a program. It was an open program and I was in there. And I usually tell myself, if I sit near people, one person on my right, on your left, strike the conversation. Be the conversation opener. Come on. Look to your right and say, good morning, good afternoon. How are you? I'm Hannah Oyebanjo. You know, I mean, depending on the setting. If you have time, go a little further. I do so and so, I'm the so and so. If you don't have so much time, just mention your name and ask, may I meet you, please? And the person will say, me. If you sit near me, I must meet you. I will get your name, and then in the course of that sitting, because remember, you'll be sitting for like 1 hour, 30 minutes or 30 to 15 minutes. At some point in time, engage again. And when you engage, especially by wanting to know what they do, you open yourself more for a stronger connection. It is not about you, it is about them. It's not about you, it's about them. Don't be in a hurry to just tell them, so I work for this company, I did it for 10 years, and then I built this mansion, and then No. Rather, once you've introduced yourself, give them the chance. Let them introduce themselves and begin to know more about them. What about you? Oh, where do you work? What do you do? I work with so and so. Wow, I've heard about them. All right, okay, what else do you do? Oh, what do you do? Let it be what, where, why. Open questions. It makes them open up a bit more. And of course, you have to be sensitive to body language. And of course, there are some times you can't have conversations if the sessions are ongoing. That means you'll be making noise, you'll be distractive. You don't want to do that and be distracted. But check body language. And if there are people that want to be private and they are really very private, you will notice. And there's no harm in that. But they would have told you their names. And most times you can actually go further to request their contact details. May I have your details? And most people will oblige you. It's very important because I tell you why it's important. When you know how to engage, the day you need things, when you look into your archive, you will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people who can provide that service or you can reach to. And I hope you know how to save contact details appropriately. You don't just save the names Hannah Oyebanjo. Who is Hannah Oyebanjo to you? Where did you meet Hannah Oyebanjo? Otherwise, you may have like 1/3 of your archive or the names on your phone. You don't remember them. You don't know where you met them again. Would you be kind to put that to where they work? Or the contacts through, if you met them through some other persons, you put it in there, right? Or if it's a location, so you can remember and you can then remind them. Because after each meeting and somebody gave you a card, courtesy demands after the engagement, when you leave, you say, hello, that's Hannah, we met at, I was telling you about LBS program I went and I met with a guy. I sat near him and I struck a conversation with him. Incidentally, he's also a salesperson. We start talking. Believe you me, if you know how much money I finally made from that company, you'll be shocked. Because on the strength of that meeting, that 5-10 minutes, okay, I think we're together for like an hour, and then we spoke on that basis. I took his number. I'm like, by the time I started asking more about him. The more I ask about him, the more I'm opening myself to possible opportunities of how I can help them. Did you hear what I said? Not I can make money, I can be of value to what they do. So at some point, after the meeting, I'm like, okay, this is what you do, this is what you do. Take that relationship forward. Especially if the person is open, and see how to take it forward. How do you take it forward? When you leave that engagement, that meeting, send it, oh, it was nice meeting you, and I'm hoping that one of these days we'll catch up and all. It's fine, leave it. One of these days might be 3 months later, it might be a year later. You might not even meet again until God knows when. Maybe never, but it's fine. But for some of them, because of what they told you, remember, when you were really asking questions, you were opening them up. You were beginning to know what they do. And that helps you to know where what you do can be of value to them. Very important. Because if you don't establish their need, you cannot sell to them. You just go, we said this, we said that. Who asked you? First, don't do that. Respect them, okay? Ask, okay, what do you do? It's when you ask what they do, you will realize that for some of them, though they work in this place, but they also have a business. She has a business. And she has a business. She deals in all of these things. She sells clothes. She goes to Italy sometimes. She buys some things. That is her side gig. She does that by the side. And here you are into business. You want to sell things. That already means that there is something that puts you together. There's an alignment somewhere. And someday, you may actually be the one who is now, she may begin to buy from you in her shop. Remember, she's working. So make it about them. Ask them questions to unravel who they are. And after that, begin to see possibility of meeting them, if possible. Another meeting. This other meeting doesn't have to be formal, because this time around, you already know yourselves. So it becomes somewhat informal meeting. And you're like, hey, hi, how are you? How do you do? Okay, yes. And all of that. All right, okay, and all. And then by the time you make this second meeting, you can talk a bit more. Right? How is business now? How are you doing? What are you? Oh no, I'm doing this. I'm thinking. Would you be able to have? That was how the conversation went with that guy I told you about. This is God. Not only that, I can mention a million and one. You know, that's what we call business development. It's nothing big. But if you are a business person listening to this, you must learn this skill. If you're a career person, you need it because it's how you get connected into bigger roles. Okay? Very important. All right? So, collect their details. All right? And like I said, set up meetings afterwards and see how you follow them up. Okay? Keep them in your schedule. Keep them in your schedule. I can't begin to tell you how many people. In fact, sometime I was teaching a class, not even a class. It was a virtual. I was taking a virtual class, and I can't remember what we're discussing. Is it marketing strategy, whatever it was? And this is an elitist class I was discussing with. There were like 40 in that class. Oh, and the class was they are like EMBA people in an executive MBA class. And after having my session with them, many of them came back to say, oh, yo, this is nice. Thank you, Shegun, for me, you know. They said, this is really nice, this is nice. Oh, Hannah, thank you. And some of them were like, okay, let's get your contact. So when I left, I'm like, a few of them reached out. I started reaching out more. And I called one of them. That's the one I want to share with you. Yes. And I'm like, hi, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, he was so excited. And I said, I think we should meet. This is what you do, you know. Let's see. Let's have a drink. And the guy actually came to my office. No drink, but we just discussed. Believe you me, guess what happened? After that, there was an opportunity to say, can you quote for this? Can you, because it's what you can do. Can you do? I'm like, there we go. Let's go there. Come on, we move. Right? So I'm saying, and our time is fast spent, we're about rounding up now, that you must learn the skill of opening the door. If it's in the church, you meet, you introduce yourself as well, and then say what you do within that religious circle. If it's in the mosque, say same. If it's social, just introduce yourself, your name and all of that. And finally, I won't leave until I say this. Please learn to compliment people at the right times and right compliments. Women like compliments. Oh, I like your wig. I like your hair. Maybe you won't call it wig. I like your hair. I like your glasses. Oh, I like, you know, I like your, somebody say, when you're complimenting men, you can say, I like your cologne. Yes, you can, but it depends on, be careful, right? Oh my God, this is a nice watch. Wow. You have to have those languages. Yes. Open the door. If you don't open the door, you don't have access to go in at all. And many people have been shut out. Let me give you the very last practical example. You know, when you talk about elevator speech, you've heard that before, to say, if you meet someone you long to meet, you know, how do you make that connection? You have to learn to be situational. Who is a situational manager? A situational manager is somebody who you capitalize on the situation to get what you want. Do you understand? On the situation. You flow. You ride on the winds and the wings of the situation and the environment, you know, to make the move. Let me give you this instance. I was going to a company. I won't mention the name because it's a public place. It's a big company and they are a conglomerate. In Nigeria, when you can't mention 10 companies, you mention that they are big, huge. You know, I'm an FMCG person, so consumer sales and all of that. So I was downstairs. I had an appointment I think it was in the 4th or 7th floor. I had an appointment and I came into the company and I just stayed at the elevator. I stayed in front of the elevator and I just looked to my left and I saw a younger man. This man is a young man, maybe in his early 40s. And you know, the way bodyguard to guard somebody, you know, the way they just use, you know, the way they, you know, one on this side, one on the left and right hand side, the guy just came up and so I noticed. And I think about that time the elevator had opened. They just like, you know, the guy by his left almost like shoved me to like make way for my boss to. It was very clear that this was a boss. This guy, he had a very smooth leather pouch with him. And I think another person carried some of his stuff. I'm like, this person must be Oga. And immediately, so of course they pushed kind of. And the man entered. They led the man inside the elevator. And they were going to close the door because I was wondering to say, okay, what's going on here? Okay, then I noticed, it was a special elevator. Apparently, I was standing in the elevator for the director, who's the director. I'm telling you. And that elevator goes straight. As a matter of fact, they only press it to the 7th or 8th floor, 10th floor, whatever that floor is. And there I was. So immediately the guy entered, he looked at me, and I'm sure he must have looked at me and my me, get what I'm saying? And the guy just said, please come in, ma. Oh, I'm like, whoa. So at that instance, the two guys who were to shut the door, of course, they couldn't do it because the Oga said I should come in, and I entered. Trust me, that is how you must. Elevator pitch means seize the moment. Take advantage of that moment. Immediately he said that, I'm like, wow, that's so kind of you. That's so thoughtful and kind and respectful. Thank you very much. Oh, and he said yes. Then he went ahead to explain that. So this elevator is the one that takes people. It's a special one kind of. I'm like, whoa, that's good. I'm privileged. In fact, I remember I used the word. Because I've looked at him, I know that this guy must be somebody. I said, wow, I'm so privileged to ride with you. Oh, and he's smart. And I right away I went ahead to introduce myself. I'm Hannah Oyebanjo, and I run to so and so business. And I said, may I meet you, sir? And he says and he mentioned the name. Obviously, he's a brother to this mogul, this person, and he's a very top person in that business. And of course, he gave me his card. And before this conversation, blah, 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 we have reached where we're going. Then he asked, who do you want to say? I'm like, oh, is this person? Okay. And I said, do you mind someday? I may breathe in. I'll give you a call. Something say, yes, why not? Okay. That's how you strike it. Come on. Ooh. Do you see? It's no magic. There's no magic in it. And you need it for your business. You need it for the next step in your life, all right? And that's why you're learning this. Or maybe for some of you are not learning something new. It's a refresher. Try to be the one. Strike conversation. In the marketplace, strike it. In the bus, you can't, depending. The person, if you're going a long journey and you are in the car, in the train, in everywhere, strike conversation. Hello, how are you? Good morning. Do it with a smile and let it be, okay? All right. I hope this is useful. Thank you very much for joining me today. Yes, elevator speech. Yes, you don't call it a wig when you're complimenting a lady. It's not a wig. It's her hair. Leave it. I like your hair. Your hair is nice. Yes. All right. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Yomi, Adeleye, and many others who've joined and others who watch later. If you're not following me yet, please go ahead. Just, start following so you get some of these things that I speak about. I started to reopen my YouTube page recently, and I'm rebuilding as Hannah Oyebanjo. I have another YouTube page where I do many other things for formal and official conversations. Is Hannah Oyebanjo. Thank you for joining me. Do remember, it's every Thursday, 12:30 to 1 p.m. Let's have a good Thursday and a good weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye. Please remember to share and tell other people about this. Thank you all, and bye-bye.